Yunam. Greetings, fellow lunatics, space travelers, planetary madmen. This is the 6th sign of the zodiac, Virgo. The earth sign ruled by the planet Mercury. And this particular area of life, this particular sign, and this particular time of the year, which are all one, give each the opportunity to consider, at least from the mental point of view, what, through intelligent discrimination, needs to be brought into some focus relative to perfection. Perfection of health, perfection of work, and perfection of service. That could be in the form of material service, physical service, emotional service, that is feeling service, compassionate service, and or mental service, intellectual service, academic service, or bodhi service in terms of wisdom, spiritual teaching service, dharma service.
I like them what you say or what say something.
Therefore, this is one of the most critical times of the year. This is the time which polarizes the vibration of Pisces. The Earth is in Pisces right now, while the Sun is in Virgo. This particular time really places a tremendous burden upon those who are disciples in the process of purification, to the degree that the emphasis is relative to selfless service, perfection of selfless service. So each one is engaged in purification, which is also Virgoan, for the purpose of selfless service, ultimately speaking. So when one thinks why relative to the Virgo energy, why is answered in the Pisces vibration, which is the sign of salvation. That phase of life, or that quality of life, which relates to saving oneself through perfection, and thereby being able to save other individuals. Since this is a mercurial time, the vibration of Gemini comes into view to some degree. Gemini differs quite radically from the Virgoan vibration in that Gemini deals with dualism, duality, therefore the symbol of the twins. Whereas in Virgo, there is a synthesis of focus, and therefore the precision that is indicated by the mercurial vibration in the Virgo energy, which is the most practical application of the concrete mind, and here developed as it is, indicates much more the bodhi possibility, discriminative intelligence or wisdom. And here, when the mind is purified, there is wisdom, which is the precise use of the intellect, cutting through illusion, cutting through duality. And here, therefore, because the mind is at this level of precision, preciseness, skillfulness in determining what is wisdom, what is pure mind, then what we have is the possibility of awakening to the higher consciousness, which is again related to why one is engaged in the perfection of consciousness, the perfection of being. And why this sign and this vibration and this period is so important to those engaged in purificational practice. Because Virgo is a sign of practice, but it is the sign of practice relative to perfection, the perfecting of practice, and the practice of perfection. Virgo, historically, as related to the Virgin and the Virgin Mother, which is a paradox. How can a mother be a virgin? How can the Virgin be a mother? It's a paradox. However, the implication relates to the universal matrix, which in its purity produces, through the Father's power, all manifest life. Therefore, this particular period ought to be a phase or time when illumination must be a deep consideration. Are one's ideas as fine as they can be? Is the mental body, are one's thought processes as fine, as pure, or as high as they can be at this time? And since this follows the sign of the self, of Leo, then now that one has clearly determined what the self is, how does one bring that into practical, efficient, selfless service? This is a time to see service in manifestation everywhere. A time to see what yoga and conscientious health practices, dietary disciplines are all about. A time to see the body from the viewpoint of the mind and to try to raise it up as much as possible. It is a time, like the Virgin Mary, to give birth to some degree of Christ consciousness, the consciousness of the Christ, or the divine consciousness. The sign that follows this is the Libra vibration. That particular vibration when we get to it, will be one of harmony and balancement only in proportion to the degree that service has been made perfect. To the degree that one's idea is pure, high, and selfless, then the possibility of harmony enters into the cycle. Without that high level of perfection being realized, harmony becomes questionable later on. Or even now. Therefore, this great opportunity of 30 days to gather all that is necessary in order to achieve the realization of the Virgo phase, relative not only to personal and social, work, health, and service, but universal work, health, and service. You know.